Here's a bonus lesson on taking your UI with the default button look to something like this. Buttons that have a more custom style that fits the game art a little better. So we're going to see how to improve our UI theme. To do so, we're going to go back to the assets folder. I'm going to fold the source because we only need to work with the UI theme here. So double click that to open the bottom panel for it. So where you can preview the theme. I'm going to fold, unfold if you have some trouble expanding it like that. So we're going to work mostly with that bottom panel, and note that you have a button in the bottom right to expand the UI theme so that for the time being we can work with that view that shows all the available UI widgets in Godot. On the right side in the inspector you will see the properties of your UI theme. Now by default we can only change the default font, and we want to do a little more than that. We want to change the style of the buttons when we hover them, their default style, but also when we click on a button. We want to change what happens. To add new slots to your theme, you want to go to Edit Theme, and you can add individual items. An item would be one property, like the default font. Or you can add class items. Class items are all the properties for a given node, like for example, the button. That's what we're going to use. Note before that you can also create templates. So an empty template is going to add all the classes. It's going to add all the properties for all of the control nodes. Let me go there. So all the nodes you can see here that have custom properties that can be themed will be added to your theme on the right, giving you lots of options. You can also create an empty editor template. It's going to create all your theme to look like the Godot editor, right? The default look of the Godot editor. And finally, you have an option to create these properties from the current editor theme. That is, if you go to editor settings, and you change the theme in the editor interface. So you change the colors, etc. A little bit the contrast. The last option in the menu is going to generate a full set of properties that will look like your Godot editor, so that you can make a level design tool or something in your game that will just look like your Godot editor. Anyway, we want to really add only the properties that we'll use. So let's go to Edit Theme, Add Class Items, and then you have to type the name of the class or use the drop-down menu. The user experience here is not the best compared to other parts of Godot because it's not something that lots of people use right now, I think, but it does the job. So you type the name of the class, button in our case, and click Add All. And then you will see a new category called Button with all the custom properties you can change on a button. So some colors for the text. You're going to have some separation between the button icon. If you add an icon to a button, something that you can do, it will be the separation between the icon and the text. Let's see if we can do that. So I'll go to the play button, and you see the empty icon here. I'm going to add, let's say, the coin as an icon. If I align the text to the left, there is a very small separation between the icon and the text. This is the H separation. So allow me to Control Z twice to undo that. Go back to my UI theme. And we're going to look at the fonts. So you can change the style of the text just for the buttons and for all the buttons in your game. And finally, the styles. The styles are what controls the look of the button when you click, hover it, those kinds of things. So first, we want to change the normal style. To do so, click on the arrow on the right, and you can create different types of style boxes. Style box empty is going to be basically a transparent box. It's not going to look like much. Style box texture allows you to use pictures that you draw yourself to create some background for the button. And here we are going to use Stylebox Flat. Stylebox Flat instantly makes all your buttons look flat. Click the Stylebox Flat to expand. You can see a preview of your look. And the first thing that will change is the background color. So one thing I'm going to do is go to a level in the game. So I'm going to fold my theme here and open level 1 so I can grab the color of the enemy. Or I'll go to the enemy scene and let's hide the light occluder. Okay, I just want to be able to, I'll hide pretty much everything here because I just want to be able to grab these colors with the color picker. So we'll go back to our theme. Note that you can open it by double clicking on it in the file system tab. To double click the UI theme to reopen it, and it will reopen in the state it was in. So for the background color, I'll click on the slot and use the color picker in the top right here to pick my enemy's orange color. Click on that in the interface and it automatically picks the color. Then we're going to keep draw center because you'll see if you remove it, you basically only get the border or outline that you're going to use. We want that orange center. Corner detail is going to control the quality, the amount of vertices when we round the corners of our button, which we are going to do right now. So let me re-expand the theme here, and I'm going to change first the corner radius so that you can see what happens there. I'm going to use 8 pixels on each corner. So you should see round corners appear in your button. Then we're going to add some border. So let's do a, let's say 4 pixels border around our style box here, around our button. And we are going to change the color of that border. So I'll fold the theme, click on the color, and pick the color from the outline of the monster here. If I go back to my main screen, you can see instantly how my buttons look. Maybe I want here the border width to be bigger. So let's use 8 pixels there again. Is it maybe a little too big? So we can go with 6, 6, 6, 6 here. And it looks fine. You can click the 1 in the top left corner or Control 0 to reset to the size of the game when it's full screen, like the resolution of your game. With that, you can play a bit with the shadow as well. You have some properties like these that allow you to add some shadow around your node. You can't really offset that shadow, unfortunately, but you can change its color and its opacity, so you can use that to make your buttons pop a little bit from the background. Anyway, I'm going to reset that. I don't want a shadow here. I just want this flat look for the buttons. And that is it for now. You can play a bit with the other properties that you can see down there, but as far as I'm concerned, it's good enough. Now, one thing you'll notice in the theme editor is that when you hover the buttons, the style changes quite a bit. That is because it's falling back to the default style of the Godot theme system when you don't have a style defined. So we need one for hover, we need one for pressed. Hover is when you put your mouse cursor over the button. Pressed is when you click it or you press enter with the button in focus. And focus is the style you have, so you can focus one UI element at a time, and you can navigate the focused element, so you can use that to tell the player which button they are focusing on right now. So what we're going to do here is save our style box and reuse it for the other styles as a base. So next to your style box flat, click the arrow and save the resource. We're going to put it in our assets folder, and we're going to create a new subfolder, and I'll call it theme. So I'll typically, depending on the complexity of the game, either put all the resources there or create subfolders for the buttons, for the various elements in my UI, if I'm going to have many style boxes, for example. But for now, I'll call it button normal for the style box and click save. With that, you'll have a new folder called theme in your assets folder, and you can click and drag button normal into hover, focus, disabled, etc. So let's put it into hover so that the style is not going to change when we hover the button, but the text is going to get lit a little bit. This is part of colors properties. Font color hover, so the text lights up a bit when you hover it. We'll use that. Then for pressed, we're going to create a copy of your button normal resource. So right click, duplicate, and I'm going to change normal into pressed here. And drag and drop button pressed into the pressed slot. Now I can click to expand that, and we're going to darken the colors when we press a button. So for the background color, you can click and drag to darken the red of the background. A good thing is, yeah, with the checkboxes, when the box is ticked here, the button stays in the pressed state so that you can compare the normal button with the radio checkbox. So a tip for color picking, when you are starting from a given point, you want to take a darker color. You can lower the value by pulling the tick down vertically. You can then go a bit on the right. I like to saturate my shadows. It depends on the art style, but here we have a very saturated art in the game, so we're going to increase the saturation a little bit and also play a bit with the hue. By picking a more red hue, you're going to get more contrast and a little more appeal with the contrast you create with the peach background, let's say, for the button. So I'm going to do that for the background, have something a bit red. Remember that you're mostly going to see it when you press the button, so you're only going to see it for a fraction of a second. What matters most to me at this point is that you can see the contrast when you click the button, so that you understand that you pressed it. And we could change the border color as well. So under the border category, change the border and make it a bit darker as well. I'm going to saturate the orange mostly, and then I'll play with the hue. I'll drag it a bit towards the red so that it works well in conjunction with the deep red we have for the background. And then when you click on the button, yeah, you can really see it change when you click that way. And the good thing at this point is if you save the theme, so you say save here, it should also save the button pressed resource. Or when you play the game or save the scene, it should save the resources. And then these resources are available from the file system tab. You can directly edit them there if you want to reuse them somewhere else in your game. Okay, so with that, we have the buttons. I want to add something else to our theme. So I'm going to double click UI theme here. And I want us to change the spacing, the default spacing in our menu. Our menu is a VBox container. It turns out that we can add to our theme class items for that VBox container. I'm going to move the keymon out of the way and select VBox container here. So add all the properties for the button. And for VBox container, you only have one constant. It's the separation. Allow me to fold the theme bottom dock. And we're going to change the separation, play a bit with it. So if I enter 16, you're not going to see anything change straight away in the game. In general, you have to refresh the UI to see it redraw in its new state. So you can hide and show the main screen, and then you will see the gap in the user interface. Now that's a limitation. That's why you have this bottom panel here, where you can change the value, and it will update moments after you changed a value. So I'm going to use 8 pixels, and with that, we're going to toggle the visibility of our main screen twice to see the final result. And voila. With that, the good thing is now all the UI in your game is updating automatically. If I press escape, you can see your parts menu has the same style. So if I click on something, it's going to show the pressed style of the button.